Good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. So yummy. Love it. So yummo. Let's get started. So we were reading from the Kundalini Rising, talking about how to sort of put yourself in a state of peace, harmony, tranquility, back to love, um, and get rid of all the chaos and madness. Good morning, whoever is on here. I don't know who's on here. Good morning, Shefil. Shefil. And good morning to whoever's on Facebook. Okay, so the Twilight Zone continues, the saga continues, the story, the grand design, whatever you want to call it, continues. Tons and tons and tons of information out there, things getting crazier, some things maybe in people's lives getting better. Do want to send love and light and prayers to the children that might be going through some suffering during this time. We leaving the kiddos behind, not a good thing, right? And really, my heart has been um, just thinking, just how, there's kids right now that are in situations that are even worse than before this all started. And I just, send my love and prayers. And boy, I wish I could fix this whole thing, right? We have a bunch of suffering going on in different areas, different pockets of people, um, families that are not able to provide the way they used to. And just praying that things start to swing in the other direction. And as you know, the pendulum always swings in the other direction. So while this may seem like a crazy ride for right now, know that it there's always silver linings. There's always a swing in the good direction that feels better or good, right? But you got to get through sort of these um, very uncomfortable situations before that happens. Good morning, Dope JN. I don't know what that's okay. Good morning, Mama. So my mama's on here. Good morning, little mama. Okay, let's read the Kundalini Rising because I absolutely love the way this guy wrote this. Okay, the combination of quiet the mind, open the heart, a stronger foundation is essential for spiritual awakening. When we've mastered the movement of energy from chakra to chakra, when we're able to distinguish between reality and illusion, when the mind, heart, and the navel chakras work together to heighten consciousness, we are ready to transform the human into the divine. This transformation takes place in the sexual area, second chakra, where the mastery of tantric yoga is essential to the conscious awakening of the kundalini. As we learn to draw energy from the sexual area to the base of the spine, um, be it through lovemaking or through meditation, the male and female aspects of ourself unite and give birth to the force that's strong enough to activate the sleeping kundalini. Just as sexual energy gives birth to the living creature when it's internalized, it also gives birth to this higher self. In many ways, it's like an alchemic process that transforms life lower elements into spiritual force. It frees us from the blocks from a strange and difficult inner prison. So, when we're looking at the inner energy, good morning, Scott. And we're looking at the chakra alignments and the energy and how to awaken the kundalini. Part of it is understanding the consummation of the divine or the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Most people will say, what does that mean? I've talked about the sacred feminine and masculine before, but within us, right? Because we think that male, female, or masculine, feminine are two separate things. Good morning, Suze. And the good morning, Prime. And the reality is that they're not separate. They're the same, right? Just like I keep telling people, we are not separate. We in this illusion, we cannot separate ourselves from the illusion. We are in the illusion. We are of the illusion. We are part of it, right? It is part of us and we are part of it. Now, how do we move from that to birth something new or create something new? The consummation of the sacred feminine and masculine is the understanding of the left brain, right brain kind of concept. You can see it from that perspective. Right now, we have these conversations about, I was reading, some posts, right? Because they're saying, oh, devils exist in this and that, and they're worshiping Satan and whatever. Okay, fine. So they are. And what? What does that mean for us? Okay, so looking at it, it's like one of them is very left brain people. Very left brain people. What do you mean by left brain people? Okay, scientific, right? Factual, focused. That's very masculine, male dominant. But we also have this intuition side of us where it's emotional, and it's the what we would say the divine sacred feminine. So we have these two. Now, are they separate? No, they work together. When we learn to bridge them together, we start to awaken our inner, right, energy, ourself, and we start to connect into our higher powers. You can't have one without the other. If you have too much scientific, like people are talking, well, there's no God, it's all science is going to save us. No, 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 no. Nothing's going to save us. Okay, we're all going to perish one day in this flesh. We can save ourselves, but science is going to save us? Not necessarily. God, I believe in God. Doesn't mean that you will save us. Well, maybe God will set us free. Maybe not save us, but maybe when we start to connect to that inner energy, and by God, I mean whatever you call it, right? Because I'm thinking about this, we use the word God, so we just throw it out there, right? This word. Well, what does that really mean? It means different things for different people. Some people don't like that word. It triggers up a lot of bad emotional stuff inside them. I use the word God because it's easy. We can say universe, whatever has born within itself or created, or if it wasn't created but was there to begin with, was not us, right? It's something grander, greater, okay, than us. All right. And so basically, when we look at this, right, and we look at the opening of what is our potentiality, it cannot be opened if we're just focused on scientific facts. It can't. Good morning, Quaddi. You have to have intuition and emotion. And really, we've lived in such a world that's so patriarchal, not in a bad way, okay? Not in a, oh, and this is not about men, okay? This is about the sacred masculine. When you get into the shadow side of the sacred masculine, you end up with things like war. You end up with greed. You end up with all of these things that we're seeing starting to illuminate right now. Okay, it's an illumination of the shadow side of the sacred masculine. Now, the shadow side of the sacred feminine is probably worse than the shadow side of the sacred masculine. And I said this before on my Spirit and Coffee years ago. Okay, probably 2 years ago, whatever, however long I've been doing this. And I said, look, if we don't wake up, when the shadow side of the divine feminine wakes up, or starts to plunge her fury upon us, that's going to be crazy. And I'm talking about Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth will unleash this sort of chaos that we cannot control. Okay. So the sacred masculine will come in and try to control it. And I'm talking about this. This happens within our own self as well as externally in the external world. Right now, what we're seeing is the shadow side of the sacred masculine. The shadow side being fear, right? The fear that's being programmed in us, the shadow side of the greed, of the money, of whatever's being told to us. It's control. It's I have the power. Okay. And it's not being utilized to, if you think about it, it's not being utilized in a way that's sacred, right? There's nothing sacred about what's going on at this point, in my opinion. I'm talking about the way the humans are interacting with the sacred masculine. There's nothing sacred in it at this point. It's the shadow side. And what it's doing is it's getting illuminated. Why? Because we have people who are waking up to their inner light and they're shining the bright lights on all of this darkness, and it's starting to surface. And it's like, what? And so some people are confused. Some people had no idea because it was hidden for so long. So many people are illuminating this. Now, inside us, we have this sacred masculine. The sacred masculine on our shadow side is very scientific and very like, I know the answer, and the answer could be proved right or wrong in facts. But sometimes what science says doesn't necessarily add up to how we get to treat human beings because it takes out all of the emotion. It doesn't involve emotion. Okay. It doesn't care about emotion. Now we have the sacred feminine come in and we're starting to think. So look at it this way. When we look at what's going on today, okay, we're looking at, we have this virus thing. We have people rising up against each other. For what purpose? Why should we be rising up against each other? We should not. We should have compassion, right? We have choice. People have choices how they want to engage this. And we can respect people's choices if we choose. Or we could point fingers and allow the sacred masculine to rise within us and start to point fingers and treat people like you don't know what you're doing. These are the facts. Well, here's the deal. We know that there are facts in this. We understand that it's science. We understand that people may be getting sick and all this, right? This is part of life. This is science. That is science. But we put rules in place based on the science, and then there's a consequence and repercussions for those things. The consequences being what? We've left the emotion out of the decision making. Where's the emotion? There are people right now, children that are stuck. So we've shut down schools, right? Based on science. Okay, well, that's good. Let's look at the science. Everybody's like, well, I just follow science. Okay, well, just follow science and see where that leads you. You can't just follow one. There's this other component that's being left out, and that's the emotional piece, right? That's the piece that is the sacred feminine, the intuition, the knowing what is right and what is wrong, what is sacred, looking at all these components, right, within the entire system. Now, when you go 100% scientific, you leave out the human element. You leave out the compassion. You leave out any of that, right? So when these people are pointing fingers and saying we should shut this down, shut that down, they're not understanding the consequences that come with that, right? They're saying, oh no, we're protecting you. This is science based. Look at this. We have shut down schools, and children may not be going back to school for a whole other year. You tell me how many parents in the household are teachers. How many of them can actually teach their children properly? No, they can't. How much of an education do you think these kids are going to get? Let's look at the generation that we're raising right now, the next generation. And this is why it's so sad for me with the kids. The next generation is not going to be educated. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to have amnesia. They've done this before, you guys. This is like patterns repeat themselves, right? They want a race of people who don't understand so that they can what? Follow what? The masses, follow, be controlled, right? Now we can control you because you don't know better. You don't know how to read. So if we speak in code, if we speak with symbols that you don't understand, you're never going to get it, and then we can use trickery and manipulation on you. Okay? This is how it works. Okay? Marketing itself is just mass manipulation. It's trickery, right? It's just a bunch of trickery. And that's what it is. It's based on a basic model of have, do, be. If I have this, you'll do this, you'll be this, right? So if I have that beautiful car, and they use this to manipulate people to purchase things, right? To want things. It's psychology, right? They use psychology. Now, that's scientific, and it's completely scientific. And when you start to base all your choices on scientific, not looking at the repercussions of the emotional state of people and individuals, you're really looking at something even worse. Because here's the deal, the divine feminine in the shadow side, right? When that wakes up, when the shadow side of the divine feminine said, I've had enough, that's crazier than the scientific or the shadow side of the sacred masculine. Why? Because the divine feminine don't give a shit. Okay. Chaos will actually break out. And when chaos breaks out and there's no control, everybody is going to get devoured. Doesn't matter who. It's not specific, right? It's not, think about it in hurricanes, tornadoes. We're seeing moths come. Mother Nature's speaking back. Mother Nature's gonna speak back to us. We can't just go on and think that, oh, we can be above nature. We can totally be above nature. We have the answers. We're scientists. We're chemists. We know it all. No, you don't. Mother Nature's been here longer than you. Whatever. Get out of here. It's arrogant. We can't say that we know everything. These scientists don't know everything. Listen to what they're saying, you guys. They don't understand what they're talking about. Well, now we don't really kind of know. Well, it wasn't as bad as, well, maybe this. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. I don't care. They don't. I don't trust doctors. I've been to the doctor and they don't know what they're talking about because I ask them questions and they don't know how to answer my questions. They don't know. But they want to say it's about the science. Well, guess what science does? Science keeps us looking for answers. Like we're looking for an answer to what? To the cure to all? To live forever, to be immortal, to not die, to what are we looking for in science anyway? God. Everybody's looking for God. Believe it or not. That's the answer. The church looks for God in right, in the Bible stories and God in faith, right? Believing in God in miracles and the phenomena around him. You look at science and they're looking for what? Our origins. Where did we start? How did we begin? How do we work? Where did it come from? What's the theory of everything? Look at the scientists that are looking. What are they looking for? For what? For truth? We cannot understand it all. We're human. We're this tiny in compared to all of this vast thing that's happening. And yet we want to act as though we know, and we have players out there telling us, "Oh, play it this way. This is how you're going to play the game. You're going to go out and play it this way because we say so, because we know the answers." No, you don't. You don't even know what you're talking about. How could you know? You don't know it all. Do you know that Mother Nature has healing powers beyond things that we can imagine? But you know what? Scientists will try to figure it out and then they'll go bastardize it and they'll make a pill. And then that pill they'll give to you like a little lab rat and say, try it. We've had curanderos forever. We've had natural healers forever, shaman, people who have used the natural herbs of this earth to heal us. And yet we're going to go look at science and say that it's the only way. That doesn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It may make sense to some people, okay, but let me tell you what, in science, we have physics, we have quantum physics, we have biology, we have chemistry. And when you look at every one of those, if we had the answer, we wouldn't have it anymore. We wouldn't have PhDs and doctors looking into stuff. They're looking into it because they don't understand it. They don't know how it works. That's why people go and do research. Have they come to the final conclusion or causation of anything? No. And people will say, well, it's God. And then scientists will say, well, no, we're going to go smash particles and we're going to find out the origins. We think we found it. And then they keep looking and more shit shows up. And they're like, well, it's a never ending tunnel of stuff that we can never even fully understand. How are you going to understand God? Creator, whatever you want to call it, the universe, you cannot. We are too tiny. We're like this. We're like smaller than a grain of sand in this entire nebulous thing of giant whatever it is. Horton Hears a Who. That's a good example. We could just be on a little thing and we're tiny little who's on a bigger, larger scale. We cannot, and I'm laughing right now because so many people want to argue who's right, who's wrong. It's science. Science is this. Oh, not God that. Oh, this that. Okay, fine. So, okay, and what? So what? So you want to believe in science? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Now tell me. Go to a scientist, right? And ask him a question that you've done a little bit of research on. You don't even have to do a whole bunch of research to ask them questions because sometimes we're just confused. Like I'll ask a trillion bazillion questions. Sometimes I don't know how to answer them. Well, we don't know. Theoretically, we think it's all theory, you guys. None of it's factual. Like there are some facts, right? But it's theoretical. They don't know how everything works. Okay. So the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, and I wanted to talk about a bigger scale. Now let's talk about it at the scale of you individually, and how do you come to wholeness within your sacred feminine and sacred masculine. You have to understand what triggers you inside your own self to heal, right? The subconscious mind holds the shadow side of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Why does the subconscious mind hold these things? Because we suppress that information. We suppress those feelings, right? Because we've been taught that they're wrong. So we push them down into the subconscious mind, and then they drive our behavior without us even understanding or knowing that it's driving our behavior. Okay. So we crack open the subconscious mind and we look at those things, and they're not pretty. Some of them are not pretty. We know this in our own thoughts. Sometimes we have not so pretty thoughts. Okay. And it's okay, and we're ashamed to feel those things. But if we looked at them and said, we know that this isn't right, I know that I'm not going to do this thing, um however, I need to look at it to understand how it is functioning inside me, how it is making decisions for me that I don't even know of, because it's automatically driving my behavior. Now, it takes a lot of work to get there, right? And to understand how the sacred feminine is doing the same thing, and the sacred feminine in chaos and devours. The only way to consummate the two is to get to the shadow side of each one of them, and then to bridge them and marry them together and step into the illuminated side of each one of those. The sacred masculine is protector, focused, driver. Sacred feminine is fluid, open. When you learn how to use both of these, right? When you can, because what'll happen is people say, well, I'm so right about this, right? And they'll just point fingers and da 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 da. Da. The sacred feminine steps in and says, let me open up my mind to listen to other points of view. There's that flexibility and that openness to hear. But if you don't have that, right? If you don't allow the sacred feminine to come in, you don't want to hear that you might not be 100% correct in the way you're perceiving it, or that there might be another way to look at this. And then you become self righteous if you don't. And then being self righteous leads you to make decisions. And those decisions are led by what? They're not led by you getting more information to understand. You just have to be right about this. We see this happening right now. They have to be right about what they're saying. They can't look at it and say, okay, yeah, maybe we made a misstep judgment on how severe we thought this thing was going to be. No, 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 no. We're right, and we're going to go all out 100% and spend trillions of dollars to tell people to wash their hands. I don't know how much money was actually put into that campaign to tell us something that we've been told our whole life, that I almost think that most adults and children are washing their hands. I'm sure parents are telling them wash your hands. Like that's what you're hearing. That literally that's the campaign. Look at the marketing around this, you guys. If you understand marketing, then you can understand, what are they telling me? What are they really telling me? They're telling you to wash your hands. They're spending billions of dollars to tell people to wash their hands. That's what they're spending their campaign money on. I know, I do public health. I know how this works. Okay. Right, wrong, good, or bad? No. Will they ever get to the cause? No. Is science the answer? No. Science is part of the story. There's a whole other part of the story that's being left out. And then what's happening, and the consequences of what's happening, is that they have left out the children, families that are suffering because they can no longer feed their kids, We have a whole other slew of issues that's starting to surface, right? And probably a bigger issue than we're facing with this pandemic. So, what now? It starts with you understanding your internal self so that you can take responsibility for your sacred feminine and masculine internally. One. Two, doing your research and taking the steps that you need to keep your family safe, right? I'm sick of, like, literally so sick of hearing people talk about all the issues and not providing any support on what's next, because that's what people do. Let's scare the shit out of everybody and then let's not give them a way to move forward. Let's just keep them in scarcity and fear. Take precaution, you guys. If you're look at there's things that are coming down the pipeline. They're already telling us, they're getting us ready mentally to know what's coming next. They're programming us into what's coming next. It's not hard to see what's about to happen. They're telling it to us. They're saying it to us, and people will say no. I'm like, what do you mean no? That came out of their mouth. Yes, listen to when people tell you something, they're telling you who they are. Listen to that. They're telling us they're going to chip us. They're telling us they're going to do all these things. If you don't want to get chipped, if you don't want to be part of the digital era, what are you going to do to be outside of it? Are you preparing for that? What does it look like to prepare for that? Are you buying land? Are you going to go live off the land? Are you going to learn how to grow your own vegetables? What are you going to do? Or are you going to stay in this matrix? Are you going to be part of the digital era? Are you going to choose into this particular era? If so, what are you doing to take care of yourself so that your family's taken care of when you choose into the digital age? What are you doing? Where are you spending your time? People will say, I'm not getting a chip. I'm not going to get a vac. Okay, well, then what are you going to do if you don't? Tell me what you're going to do. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You going to fight? Are you going to leave peacefully? Are you what? Tell me what truly you're going to do. Not just as a concept. What are you putting in place right now to support what you want to do in the future? That's what people should be looking at. I don't want to be part of this. Okay, well then what do you want to be a part of? It's going to be up to you to create that. You can't expect somebody to come in and create it for you. Are you ready to create that? Are you ready to move forward with that? Talking about the issue doesn't help you in moving forward in your choice. So I think it's going to come down to choice. You guys get to choose, right? Not in fear, but you get to choose. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Which direction? And when you choose, at least you know you can choose powerfully. And that is why I'm doing these things so that you guys can prepare yourself. Hopefully there's enough time to prepare yourself for what you want to choose. Okay? If you're not going to get a vaccine and they're requiring them, then what? What are you going to do? Are you organizing a group of individuals that's going to stand up and say, I will not do this? Are you, like I said, purchasing land? Are you learning how to grow your own food? If they, microchip you and you can't go purchase food unless you have a vaccine, microchip in you. Some people see this as the end of times, the mark of the beast. There's so many different concepts coming up as to what is about to happen. And that's fine. Whatever your belief is your belief. I'm not telling you what to believe. My question to you is, if you don't want to do this, which gonna come, it's gonna happen, not if, it's when. And when it does, what have you put in place to prepare you to choose powerfully into the next phase? What? This is real life, you guys. This is the quote unquote reality we live in right now. Time to start making our choices. We could talk about what's going on all day, but that's not helping us get to the next phase of what's coming. Figure out in yourself what is the masculine, feminine, consummate those two. Look at it from the bigger perspective. This stuff, it's so easy to see when you understand the alchemic process. Okay? Spiritual alchemy, right? It's transforming the soul into pure light. How do you do that? It's not chemistry. Chemistry was a sort of a byproduct of spiritual alchemy. The philosopher's stone is what? It's transcending our soul. It's being able to find the elixir of immortality, which is what our soul is, to find our soul, is to illuminate the soul, is to be at one with the soul so that we can transcend time space, so that we can go back to who we are, our original state of being, which is pure light and love. We cannot get there without going through all of this craziness. But when you understand how to get there, when you have the tools that you need to get there, when you understand that everything, all the power, everything exists within you. Hello, Wisconsin. Hot Granny. Good morning, 123 Visana. Sorry, good morning, Betty. Good morning, all these people I never say good morning to. I usually say good morning. Lately, I've been on one, but we have the power. You have the power within you. So tap into that power, make your choice, and start to take on whatever it is you're going to take on to move that forward. We, like, again, we understand what's going on. We know what's going on. It's very clear. It's very blatantly obvious what's happening. Okay. They've given us rules to play the game. Here's the rules. You either follow the rules or you don't follow the rules. And if you're not going to follow the rules, what are you going to do? What do you choose? What are you creating to support you? But you have it within you to do that. You just got to be able to tap into that. So what you pay attention to, and how you spend your time is going to be very critical during these next few months, during this entire year. Okay? Think about it. Half the year is almost gone. Half the year is almost gone. Have you taken any steps towards what you want to choose? Have you taken any precautions or any steps onto how would you choose differently? Or what would you create if you weren't going to choose into the world they're creating right now? We're definitely not creating it. We're just following whatever they're telling us to do right now. Things are going to look a lot different. We get to create what we want. So go out and create what you want. Okay, so there you have it. The consummation of the sacred feminine, sacred masculine. Remember, there's the light side and the shadow side of each. Go do research. Go look it up. Look at the shadow side of the sacred masculine. Look at the shadow side of the sacred feminine. Understand how it operates in natural law. Then ask yourself how it operates in human psyche, because the mind has the sacred feminine and masculine. Look at the light side of both. Look how it operates in nature. Then ask yourself how it operates in you. Very, very, very simple process once you understand. So go look it up. Be your own researcher. Okay. All right. So I love you guys. Have a fantastical day. I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.